As we are less than 48 hours away from the Knicks preseason being kicked off, I thought it would be a good idea to go over my 5 lineups that I'm hoping Mike Brown, in his first season as the Knicks head coach, is going to use. Before we dive into that, though, Tyler Smith, former Knicks producer, now the host of our Celtics show here at Chat Sports, he has challenged the real ones to a like battle on today's show. So, if you love the Knicks, you want to beat the Celtics, hit that thumbs up icon for me right now. This is New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's get into it. 5 lineups that I expect and am somewhat hoping that Mike Brown is going to use in his first season as the head coach of this basketball team. The starters have not yet been announced, but based off of training camp and kind of everything that we are hearing, it sounds like Mitchell Robinson is going to be the starting center for the New York Knicks, and they are at least going to start the season with that double big lineup of Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns at the 4 and the 5. Jalen Brunson running the show as the point guard, and then Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby off of the wing. I've been pretty transparent about who I want to be the starter. I think it should be Miles McBride. I don't think that's going to happen at this point. When I talk about the lineup of Mitch, Cat, OG, Mikal, and Brunson, I think it's a really good lineup. It was good in the playoffs as well, and I think it's going to be good in the regular season. I just don't think the Knicks are maximizing any individual thing with that lineup. It's not an all-defense lineup. You have Brunson and you have Cat. It's not an all-offense lineup. You have Mitchell Robinson. So you're not really fully leaning into any one thing in specific. That could be good or that could be bad. I truly believe, though, if the Knicks are going to win an NBA title with Jalen Brunson and with Karl-Anthony Towns, they need to be the best offense in the NBA. And I just have a hard time believing you can do that with Mitchell Robinson. He boosts the defense. You have 3 really good defenders in Mitch, OG, and Mikal. I just wonder how that offense is going to operate with Mitch in the middle. Is Karl-Anthony Towns just going to turn into being solely a perimeter player? I think it'll work. I think they will play good basketball. They're going to win a lot of games. It's just a slight concern that I have. This looks like the 5 bench players you're going to have in the rotation this year. I guess you could include Ariel Hukporti if you're going to go 11 deep, but I'm expecting Malcolm Brogdon to be a big part of this rotation, as will Jordan Clarkson. You know, Miles McBride and Josh Hart are going to be heavily featured in the biggest offseason acquisition you made when it comes to money, at least was Guerschon Yabusele. So I expect the Knicks to go at least 10 deep, and maybe sometimes you'll see Ariel Hukporti as well. I doubt we'll see all 5 of those guys on the floor together. He will find a way, he being Coach Brown, ways to blend the starters and the bench. And it will be a trial run for him. He's never coached this team. This team looks different. There's new players as well. They're also going to be running a different scheme than they have so far under the Tom Thibodeau era. So it may take a couple games, a couple weeks, potentially a couple months for Mike Brown to figure out the rotations and lineups that he wants to roll with. First lineup I want to see, because I don't think we're going to see it as a starting lineup, is the starting lineup that I want. Brunson at the 1, McBride at the 2, Mikal at the 3, OG at the 4, and Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5. I think this gives you a little bit of everything. You get a perimeter defender and Miles McBride, but you also have 5 people on the floor who can all knock down the 3 at a high clip. So I expect for this lineup to be deployed. And I think another variation of this lineup could be where Malcolm Brogdon slides in where Miles McBride was pictured. I expect Brogdon and Brunson to actually play a decent bit together. We've heard Mike Brown talk about how he wants to see Jalen Brunson be a catch-and-shoot player. Get those easy buckets, those spray threes. Brogdon can handle. Brogdon can allow him to do that. We saw Brunson and Emmanuel quickly produce winning results. We've seen Brunson and McBride produce winning results. these might be your best 5 offensive players on the floor at one time. And I want to bring on my guy, Andrew Connell, producer of the show. That's a lineup that Mike Brown, I think, will go to and look to if the Knicks are trying to score a lot of points this year.
Yeah, definitely. Brogdon gives you kind of a versatility. He can handle the ball. He can knock down the open shot. He can create shots for others. And I think that it also, outside of Brunson and Towns, we know where they stand defensively, is a pretty strong defensive lineup. Brogdon's a good guard defender, and then you have Wingstop, obviously, with Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. So I think there's some two-way versatility with that lineup and could bring a lot of positive things for the Knicks. Yeah,
I'm curious to see what Brogdon still has in the tank as a defender. He's always been more of an offensive player, but he's a big guy, almost 6'4", 200-plus pounds. He could defend a little bit. I think we've been hammering it home, Andrew, but I think Brogdon is going to play a pivotal role on this team as long as injuries don't get in the way.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy, that's a guy with experience. He's played in games on the biggest stage at the highest level. Only going to add things, make the right play, leadership, that kind of thing. Just bring a level of professionalism to the Knicks and kind of steadiness off that bench. So you don't need Brunson in there playing as many heavy minutes. And kind of just be a floor general a little bit.
Yeah, and Mike Brown's talked about it already. He doesn't want these guys playing 40-plus minutes. The goal is to make sure you're ready to go for the playoffs. I thought it was an interesting quote. It says, you don't want to up the minutes to chase wins in the regular season. So
it's a different philosophy than we've seen.
A completely different philosophy that we've seen. I know this is New York City. I know it's the Knicks, so we got to talk about defense as well. And if Mike Brown is looking to close the game out on the defensive end, he wants to be physical, wants to run a switch-heavy defense. I think this is one you could look to. I worry about who's going to be the lead guard in this offense. I don't view Miles McBride as a point guard. I view him as an off-the-ball player. But if you can run McBride, Bridges, Anunoby, and Robinson and have Josh Hart as your worst defender, who Josh Hart can be a good defender. Sometimes he's not. Sometimes he is. But if you're trying to win a game on defense, these 5 guys could do it. I just worry a little bit about the offense with this one. And I thought you made a good point, Andrew. We're going to see Mikal Bridges be more of a ball handler and be involved in the pick and roll a lot more this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with this, we've talked about how Deuce really isn't a prototypical point guard, so you may not have him bringing the ball up. You have Bridges bring the ball up, but I think this is his opportunity to kind of be the focal point of the offense. We've seen when they're getting him shots, what he can do. Christmas Day last year had a 40-point explosion. When he's locked in, he's getting shots. I think that lineup is his opportunity to really be the focal point of the offense.
And that lineup's going to push the pace as well, and we're so used to the Knicks being a slow, drag it out, rock fight offense, mid-range jumper with 8 seconds on the shot clock. That lineup with McBride and Bridges and OG and Hart and Robinson, they can get up and down, and where they may lack a table setter, they can capitalize on some easy buckets in transition.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be getting shots up quickly. Those open threes, I don't think it's going to be, a lot of times they say, we'll get the best shot possible. I think if they have an open look and they're a good three-point shooter, which a lot of the guys in that lineup are, Mike Brown's going to tell them to get it up. Efficiency. We want as many looks as possible because you guys are high percentage shooters. We can afford to go down a little bit on the percentage if we're getting our attempts up because the Knicks have been a good three-point shooting team, but they've always been near the bottom in attempts under Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, the volume and the pace has somewhat crippled the Knicks because while the percentages have been fine, the volume isn't as high, so it makes you have to be that much more efficient. And with Mike Brown, it's let's get shots on net, let's get back on defense, and let's run it. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. So let's transition to the running gun lineup. Like if they want to be a team that gets up and down, they want to be a team that could score a lot of points, have multiple guys who can get the ball in the basket, it's this lineup. Jordan Clarkson running the 1, Miles McBride playing that off-ball position. New addition of Guerschon Yabusele next to Karl-Anthony Towns. Where's the defense in that lineup? That's a very fair question. But this is a lineup that could win a game 135 to potentially 133. Like, Yabusele's going to get shots up. Clarkson is going to get shots up. And you got the big man, Karl-Anthony Towns. We know that he can go get 40 any single night.
And you talk about maybe a lack of point guard in that lineup as well. they're not going to be looking to run half-court sets with that group. Josh Hart's going to be trying to get every single rebound and push the pace, and if he can be the one to facilitate off those fast breaks and not in a half court, obviously, everyone else can shoot a little bit in that lineup. They can get some open threes. They can push, try and get just a dribble kick off of that mismatch. I think it could look good with that lineup.
And I think Clarkson is going to act as a point guard on this team. He's going to handle the ball a lot. Obviously, he's a score-first guard, but he's going to handle the ball. He'll act as that lead guard, and I'm excited to see what he does. I am curious to see the balance of Brogdon versus Clarkson. I like Brogdon a little bit more as a player. The injuries are obviously a major impact there, but Clarkson signed here for the veteran minimum for a reason, for a role and an opportunity, and bench scoring has been such a problem for the Knicks under Tom Thibodeau. I don't necessarily think that's going to be a problem anymore.
Yeah, and those kind of players who are microwave scorers have roles on the team. I know this was a guy who was a little inconsistent for the Knicks last year, but Cam Payne, he was a guy like that. You saw what happens in a game where they need him in the playoffs. He was a pivotal player. Yep. So it may vary game by game with Brogdon, Clarkson, who's getting more minutes. And on most nights that may be Brogdon. But if the Knicks are not shooting well or they are down and they need like a few quick buckets, Clarkson's a guy who can really step in there and give that.
I'm curious to see how the Knicks are going to close some games out this year as well. We talk so much about the starting lineup. We talk so much about the bench. Who are going to be the 5 players on the floor consistently? And look, I don't think it will be this 5. I think Karl-Anthony Towns a lot of times will be on the floor to close it out. But shoot, if you're up 8, 9, 10, 11 with 2.5 minutes left, I don't hate the idea of putting your best 4 defenders on the floor around Jalen Brunson. You put the ball in 11's hands and say, bring us home. Kind of similar to what we saw in the playoffs against Indy, where Tom Thibodeau had Karl-Anthony Towns with 4 defenders around him. And it's not like these are defense-only guys. Like Mikal could score, OG could score, Deuce can catch and shoot. Having 4 guys around Brunson like that on the defensive end, I'm curious to see if Mike Brown will try to dive into that lineup.
Yeah, it kind of when you have Towns and Brunson at the same time, you know teams can just run that high pick and roll with the 2 of them, and it's not going to be good for the Knicks on defense. With those 4 guys, you certainly eliminate that, the ability to pick on Brunson more or less. And I think offensively, there's a lot of things you can do with that lineup. Those guys, other 3 guys, Bridges, Anunoby, and McBride, are all good 3-point shooters. You can't help off those guys. No. That opens up the Brunson-Mitch pick and roll. And as long as we're not in free throw and hack-a-Mitch territory, depending on what point we're at in the game, that's a lineup that could be effective on both ends of the court.
I bring up a great point, the pick and roll with Mitchell Robinson. While Mitch isn't the most offensively gifted player, doesn't have the softest hands, he's a hard roller. And that causes a defense to collapse on that roll, and he provides a threat of being an alley-oop guy because of his height and athletic ability. And Brunson, I think this year is going to evolve more as a passer. I thought he grew as a passer last year. And if they're going to crash in and double on a Brunson and Mitch pick and roll, that's a quick pass in the corner to OG. It's a quick pass in this corner to Mikal. It's a quick dump off at the top of the key for McBride running around. So while that is a defensive-heavy lineup with an emphasis on Brunson winning the game, there's still multiple sets they can run off that.
Yeah, you have to make the defense make a decision. You can't guard everything. We know Brunson's going to get a step if he gets a good screen. Okay, now you have to go to him. So what's the next thing open? Is it a lob to Mitch, like you said? Or if one of those guys are going to help, I'm happy with an open 3 from Bridges and Anunoby and McBride being the result of any one of those possessions.
Anytime. I'll take those looks every single day of the week. I'm curious to see what the rotation is going to be. Who are going to be the first guys coming out of the game? Who are going to be the first guys coming into the game off the bench? And I thought, I would assume Mitchell Robinson is one of the first guys to come out of the game at the midway point of the first quarter, just because you don't want him to stack heavy minutes after heavy minutes after heavy minutes. And I don't think you're taking Mitch and Karl-Anthony Towns together out of the game. So it would probably be Brunson and Mitch come out, and you have a guy like Josh Hart and Malcolm Brogdon come in. Brogdon's no Brunson. He could do some of those similar things on offense. It allows you to focus more and run the offense more through Karl-Anthony Towns, and Josh Hart comes to the game and does what he does. So how Mike Brown not only uses his lineups, but decides which lineups to use in the rotation of in and out. That's something I'm going to be paying attention to very closely early on in the year.
Absolutely. And you see a lot of the times those good players, sometimes the team's best players, come out quickly so that way, they're going to play 35, 40 minutes a game. You get 6 of those minutes on the bench in the first quarter, you're going to have them for most of the rest of the game.
Yeah, sit maybe from the 4 to 0 minutes in the first quarter, then you could potentially play the whole second quarter. Mm-hmm. Or you could sit the first 2 minutes of the second quarter, then close out the first half, start the first half, do the same thing, and be ready to go for the full fourth quarter. Mike Brown's played with a lot of stars. He's played with a lot of Hall of Famers. How he uses Brunson, when he uses Brunson, that's going to be really an underlying storyline to the year this year for me.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Listen, I'm sure he has ideas. I'm sure he doesn't even know what he's going to do yet. He's going to test some things out in preseason, even during the beginning of the regular season, see what he can do, see what works well, see what doesn't work well. I know we talked about Bridges potentially being a focal point of the offense with Brunson out of the game. Obviously, Towns, that's an opportunity for him to take over a little bit. And I think OG Anunoby is a little underrated as an offensive player. If he can get some shots in the mid-range, one dribble pull-ups, create off the dribble, think about it. He's going to have the third or fourth best defender from any team on him on any given night. And I think that's a matchup he could take advantage of.
What do you want to see as the starting lineup? Are you a double big guy? Do you want Hart out there?
The double big has had some success recently. I worry, I guess with the rim protection, that may work. My problem is, who is Towns going to guard? If Mitch is the center and Towns is on a stretch 4, a guy who can dribble a little bit, that could be a disaster as well.
We've seen that. It's been horrible.
Yeah, he's not.
He doesn't close out.
The problem when you have 2 guys who you almost want to, quote-unquote, hide on defense is you can't usually hide 2 guys on defense. So I think it's probably easier to play him against a big unless it's a center who's an all-star level player like a Jokic or like an Embiid. Towns is probably better off guarding centers than he is guarding guys on the outside.
I agree. And I'm not saying the Knicks can't win a championship with Mitchell Robinson. I do think, though, the best form of the Knicks is with Cat at the 5 and Brunson at the 1. You could do the double big lineup, I think, a little bit better in the playoffs because it's so matchup dependent. Mm-hmm. But, most teams, their 4 is a hyper-athletic wing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I love Karl-Anthony Towns chasing those guys around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's got the size to play center better, and it's really on him to just play a little more physical. I think if he can do that, whereas his foot speed, he can't really make that any better against some of these guys on the wing. He's going to get blown by. It's going to break down the entire defense. He's just got to play a little more physical, stay out of foul trouble if he's guarding a center because that's something that could become an issue. But I agree. I think the Knicks at their best, if they can defensively work that lineup with Towns at the center, offensively, that's the best lineup for them.
I agree. Talking about it, it's going to be pumped up for Knicks basketball. It is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually going to be live on the channel at noon Eastern. Noon Eastern? Yep, that's how that works. Noon Eastern on Thursday as the Knicks start their preseason schedule in Abu Dhabi against the 76ers. So subscribe, turn those notifications on, hit that thumbs up icon, and if you want more Knicks content on other platforms, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, @MarshallGreen_.